The crystalline spires of the Galactic Academy pierced the amber sky of Centauri Prime, their surfaces reflecting the light of three suns. Within the prestigious institution's combat simulation hall, James Chen stood frozen, his neural interface flickering with disbelief at the data streaming across his vision. "That's impossible," he whispered. The simulation had been designed by the Academy's top military strategists, a scenario no first-year cadet had ever survived, let alone completed with a perfect score. Yet there she stood in the center of the arena, breathing steadily, not a scratch on her standard-issue combat suit. Aliana Reeves, the quiet human girl from Sector 7. James had noticed her the first day of term. While other cadets from dozens of species, Centauri, Kralaxians, Vexthari, boasted about their homeworld's military traditions, Aliana sat in the back, saying nothing, her dark eyes carrying a weight that seemed too heavy for someone barely 20 standard years old. "Cadet Reeves," Professor Threx's four eyes narrowed with suspicion, his scales rippling with agitation. "You will submit to a full neural scan. No one achieves such results without enhancement augments." Aliana removed her helmet, her short black hair matted with sweat. "Of course, Professor." The scan took 3 hours. James waited outside the medical bay, unable to shake his curiosity. When Aliana finally emerged, Professor Threx looked more disturbed than before. "Nothing," he muttered to the security chief. "She's completely baseline. No augments, no genetic modifications, not even basic combat conditioning." That night James found Aliana in the observation deck, staring at the star field with an expression he couldn't quite read. Not quite sadness, not quite nostalgia. Something darker. "How did you do it?" he asked, approaching carefully. She didn't turn. "Do what?" "The simulation. I've been training since I was 6. My family has served in the Terran Defense Fleet for 5 generations. I barely lasted 12 minutes in that scenario." "You want to know my secret?" Aliana's laugh was hollow. "I'm from Earth, original Earth, not the colony worlds, not the terraformed paradises. Earth Prime, Sol 3. James frowned. "I know Earth's history is complicated, but—" "Complicated?" She finally looked at him, and he saw something in her eyes that made him take an involuntary step back. "That's a diplomatic word for it. Tell me, James, what do they teach you about Earth in the core worlds?" "That it's a protected heritage site. That humanity's birthplace is preserved and monitored." Aliana's smile was bitter. "Protected, sure. After the Exodus, after 90% of humanity left for better worlds, they left the rest of us behind. Do you know what Earth became? The dumping ground. Every species in the Galactic Union uses it. Toxic waste, failed experiments, dangerous criminals they don't want to execute but can't rehabilitate. And us, the ones who stayed, we learned to survive." I had no idea." "Of course you didn't. It's not in the official histories." She turned back to the stars. "I was 7 when the Krellite raiders attacked my settlement. They'd been dumped there, too violent even for their own penal colonies. My mother taught me to fight with a broken pipe. I was 9 when the chemical spill from a Vexthari waste facility poisoned our water supply. I learned chemistry by figuring out which filtration methods would keep us alive. By 12, I was negotiating with criminal syndicates for food supplies. By 15, I'd killed 6 people in self-defense." James felt his stomach turn. "The Academy, they don't know. They know I'm from Earth Prime. They don't ask details. To them, it's just another Terran world." She pulled up her sleeve, revealing a patchwork of scars. "Your simulation, it was designed to break cadets psychologically. Resource scarcity, hostile environment, impossible choices. That's not a simulation for me, James. That's Tuesday." "Why are you here?" "Because I got out. A Terran military officer visited our settlement, one of the rare inspections. He saw something in me, pulled strings, got me a scholarship. This is my chance at a real life, away from hell." The next day, everything changed. James was in tactical theory class when the alert came through. 3 Kralaxian students, members of a prominent warrior clan, had filed an elimination challenge against Aliana. It was a legal but rarely used provision. If cadets from species with trial by combat traditions felt dishonored, they could challenge another student to sanctioned combat, to the death. "They think she cheated," one of James's classmates whispered. "The Kralaxians say no human could defeat their clan's battle algorithms without artificial enhancement. They're calling it a stain on their honor." James found Aliana in the armory, methodically checking a plasma rifle. "You can't accept this," he said. 3 against 1. They're trained warriors from birth." "I already did." Her voice was calm, too calm. "Aliana." "James," she finally looked up. "You asked me how I survived that simulation. You want the real answer. I've fought things that would make those Kralaxians wet themselves. I've faced creatures that the Union dumped on Earth because they were too dangerous to exist anywhere else. I've survived because I had to, because quitting meant dying and I wasn't ready to die." The arena was packed. The entire academy had turned out to watch. The Kralaxians entered first, each standing over 7 feet tall, their exoskeletons gleaming with ceremonial war paint, their 4 arms wielding traditional plasma blades. Then Aliana walked in, looking impossibly small in comparison, carrying only a standard combat knife. "She's insane," someone muttered behind James. The match began. What happened next would be analyzed in tactical courses for decades. Aliana didn't fight like a trained soldier. She fought like someone who understood that every fight was survival, that there were no rules when death was the alternative. She used the arena itself as a weapon: energy conduits, gravity panels, environmental hazards. She was faster than should have been possible, not because of augments, but because she'd spent her entire life learning to read violence, to anticipate it, to become it when necessary. 12 minutes later, all 3 Kralaxians were down. Not dead. Aliana had deliberately disabled rather than killed, but completely defeated. The arena was silent. Aliana stood in the center, breathing hard, and looked directly at the observation box where the Academy's leadership sat. "I'm from Earth," she said, her voice amplified across the arena. "The real Earth, the one you all forgot about, the one you turned into your garbage dump, and I'm here to remind you that we're still alive down there, still surviving, still human." She dropped the knife and walked out. James found her later, sitting alone in the same observation deck. "They're calling you a legend," he said quietly. "They're calling me a monster," she corrected. "I saw the medical reports. I hurt those Kralaxians badly. That's what I am, James. What Earth made me. I'm not proud of it." "You're a survivor." "Maybe." She looked at the stars again, at the thousands of worlds glittering in the darkness. "But I wonder sometimes, when you're forged in hell, can you ever really leave it behind? Or does it become part of you forever?" James didn't have an answer, but as he sat beside her in the silence, he understood something profound. Humanity's birthplace had become something the galaxy had never intended. A crucible, a forge, a hell that created survivors so tough, so adaptable, so relentlessly determined to live that they could face anything the universe threw at them. They had marked a student for elimination, thinking she was just another privileged cadet. They had no idea she came from a world that made warriors of children and legends of survivors. They had no idea her world was hell itself. And hell, as Aliana had proven, did not raise the weak.